Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, July 29th, 2016.
Commissioner Davis, James, Repenning and Assent are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Engineering.
Maria Martin, Bureau of Engineering.
Angelica Samayoa, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning. Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning. Hugh Lee, Bureau of Street Services.
Anita Fernandez, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning. Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we received speaker cards under the general public comment. We do not have any speakers under the Neighborhood Council commentary section, and we also received speaker cards on items 1 through 8 for today's regular meeting.
All right, thank you. Before we begin, I see that we have a tour group in the room. I do want to take just a moment to say thank you, welcome, thank you for coming to City Hall. We're the Board of Public Works. We are an oversight body that oversees the third largest department in the city of Los Angeles. It's roughly 5,000 employees. It's made up of 5 bureaus plus an additional office in the Board of Public Works. It's the Bureau of Sanitation, the Bureau of Street Services, the Bureau of Engineering, and the Bureau of Contract Administration that administers the contracts related to the Department of Public Works and some beyond, as well as the Bureau of Street Lighting. So it's much of the city's infrastructure. Inside the board, we house the Office of Community Beautification, which handles graffiti removal and neighborhood cleanups and things like that all around the city. Our board meets 3 days a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in this spectacular room at 10 a.m. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for visiting City Hall and for taking a few minutes to come and see how our board operates. With that, Mr. Campos, actually, just a couple of housekeeping items first. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Monday, July 11th, 2016 by Commissioner Repenning? Any objection? Without objection, we will approve those meeting minutes. Let's see. On housekeeping items, agenda item number 2, the tree removal at 1476 West 37th Drive. The Bureau of Street Services is withdrawing. Is requested that they withdraw that we withdraw the requested tree removal. It's not that they're not going to seek the requested tree removal, but in fact they want a couple of additional weeks to work with the Bureau of Street Services, to work with Council District 8. To work with Commissioner Davis and our executive office as well to try and reach an agreed upon resolution. So it's at least going to be 2 weeks. We expect that it may be about 2 weeks. For those of you that if anybody put in a speaker card on agenda item number 2, so you might watch for the agenda item in a couple of weeks. If you would like notice of the date that it goes on, I know that some of the neighbors that appeared initially wanted notice of the upcoming date. So Mr. Campos, our executive officer, if you provide him with your email address, then he will provide notice of the date that gets put back on calendar. That's for agenda item number 2. That's the only housekeeping item that we have. Let's see what I've got. Let's go ahead and take care of agenda item. Can't do the special till 10:30. Let's go ahead and do agenda item number 1, our annual election of officers. Mr. Campos, we have a speaker card on number 1. Mr. Spindler on agenda item number 1. Mr. Spindler on number 1. Mr. Herman on agenda item number 1. Mr. Herman?
Good morning. I'd like to talk to you about the elections, but it's a scary moment when it comes to elections, especially in the city of Los Angeles, the way it's run by DBA business. As you all know, this matter is concerning the constitutionality of officers, how they do their tasks, their jobs, and how they protect our First Amendment on these annual elections of officers. So I'm going to hold my time to 1 minute. You all know what's going to happen later on in the day. So, once again, let's demonstrate that we, the public, are against any officials or officers who sabotage elections, just like Hugo Rossiter. Thank you. 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Mr. Campos on agenda item number 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. It is a pleasure and privilege to conduct the annual elections of the officers for the Board of Public Works. Those members of the public that are here, once a year we do go through an election process, and today is the day, the last month per our board rules, to conduct that election. Pursuant, as required by the city charter and pursuant to the board rules of the City of Los Angeles Board of Public Works, Chapter 6, Election and Appointments of Officers, this is board rule number 29 and 30. The board shall elect one of its members as president and also one member as vice president, respectively, by a majority vote by open ballot. Commissioners, are there any nominations for the position of president? Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. Is there a second to that motion?
Well, I think she wants to make, yeah, go ahead.
Commissioners, I would like to move that we support Commissioner Kevin James' continued service as our president for a few reasons. I'd like to point out that in my mind, Kevin is truly and genuinely committed to efficient, transparent, and accountable city government. Kevin has a real passion for providing basic services and making sure that we're getting the job done in every neighborhood in Los Angeles. I'd like to point out Kevin's work with the film industry, making it clear to the entertainment industry that we want to keep filming in LA and that will make it easy to film here, including in city facilities. And I'd like to point out the boost to our local economy that his work and the work of others have had. I'd like to point out that as president, even when we have more complex items that come to us, he is always able to find consensus, and he is always able to keep the business of the board moving. Kevin, I think, represents our board extremely well to the public, to our external partners. People like dealing with Kevin because he's responsive, he's smart, he's a problem solver, and I think that is what the mayor puts us on this board to do and to be. I think, to me, Kevin is one of the hardest working people in City Hall. He's always the first one here, he's the last one home. You can find him walk in the halls. I think he walks a couple miles every day. And he actually, I've noticed, he rarely takes a vacation day except for an occasional football-related trip to Oklahoma. It's for these reasons that I move to nominate Kevin James to serve as our president.
And Mr. Executive Officer, it is my privilege to second the nomination of Commissioner Repenning in terms of Kevin James as our president. As she has stated, he has done, I believe, an outstanding job in terms of making sure that particularly our internal stakeholders have made sure that they understand the role and responsibilities that they have and the services that we deliver here in the Board of Public Works. Additionally, I'd like to add that in addition to him empowering the various bureaus, that he also has been able to do very well with regard to all of our stakeholders who attend this meeting, our constituents, and all of those, and accommodating each of those that want to give their feedback and tell us about the concerns that they have with our department. We are a very critical department because we manage the infrastructure of the city of Los Angeles. And again, Kevin has done an outstanding job at making sure that we move things forward, and I think that's the key in an area of work like ours. So it is my privilege to second the nomination of Commissioner Repenning.
Mr. Executive Officer, I rise as well to second the motion of Commissioner Repenning and Commissioner Davis to re-elect and reappoint our president, our current president, Kevin James, as continuing president of the Board of Public Works. Almost a year ago, I started on this board, And I think the quality of the thoughtfulness, the thoroughness, and the leadership of Kevin James has been exemplary for us and for our city, to see how he is such a quick study in understanding the complex issues with infrastructure in all our bureaus, and his ability to lead and to facilitate these meetings in a way that's humane and that gives citizens their voice is really important. It's a rare quality in leadership. So I want to join my colleagues and second that motion as well.
Thank you. Well, I'll just say, as uncomfortable as this day is sometimes for me, I love this job. I've been lucky to have a lot of careers, and this is my favorite job that I've ever had. I look forward to another year working with all of you, working with the community in the city of Los Angeles. I appreciate the support from you. I appreciate the support from our mayor and the mayoral administration, and from the many constituents that come to us on many, many different issues, some simple, most complex. And I look forward to it going forward.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Repenning, for your motion, also for Commissioner Davis and Jacinto for seconding that motion. No need to take a vote because that actually passes the nomination now. So hearing no objections, I'd like to congratulate President James to his re-elected position for the Board of Public Works for fiscal year 16-17. So with that, can we have a round of applause for that?
Thank you, Mr. Executive Officer, and to my colleagues, and the support of the mayor as well. With that, Mr. Executive Officer, go ahead, sir.
We also have
more election, yes.
Nominations for the Vice President of the Board of Public Works. Are there any nominations for the position of Vice President?
Yes, Mr. Executive Officer, I have a nomination for the position of Vice President. My nomination today, though, will recognize that as Commissioner Rodriguez enters her fourth year on the board, Commissioner Rodriguez and Commissioner Davis and I started at the same time at the beginning of the Garcetti administration. As she enters her fourth year on the board, she will be rotating out of the Vice President position as she continues her time on our board. I was able to communicate with Commissioner Rodriguez this morning. I know that she wanted to be here to give some remarks, but unfortunately is out sick today. Of course, those of you that come regularly know about our special working relationship with Commissioner Rodriguez, and so I want to thank her for her 3 years of service as Vice President of the Board of Public Works and to the city, and thank her for her passion, her drive, her intellect, her experience. Those of you know when Monica sees an issue that is important to her, that the results are going to be positive. So I look forward to continuing to work with her as we continue our time together on the board and beyond. With that, I am also pleased to nominate Commissioner Heather Repenning as our next Vice President. Heather's deep understanding of our public works issues, her long time experience in city government, and her willingness to step into this new role and continue to work hard in administering Mayor Garcetti's Back to Basics agenda, I believe makes Heather a good choice for Vice President, and I appreciate if she will accept this additional role in the Board of Public Works as a result of Commissioner Rodriguez's rotation out of the position.
And I second that motion.
Seconded by Commissioner Davis.
Seconded by Commissioner Davis and Jacinto. Are there any objections?
No objections.
Hearing none, seeing none, the motion is passed, and congratulations to Vice President Repenning. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Heather. Repenning?
Thank you, Commissioners. It is an honor and a pleasure to do this work every day with you. I think we have a great board. And, you know, one of the most pleasant surprises about taking on this role, coming over from the mayor's office, in which I didn't have a direct role in terms of our city services, is how much I've really enjoyed getting back to the work of serving our neighborhoods, our city, our residents, and really working with our public works staff. I appreciate the opportunity to really collaborate with the folks in this department. There's really a lot of talent. There's a lot of folks who are just truly dedicated, who have great ideas, and I look forward to continuing the work and fulfilling this additional role on our board. Thank you. I'd also like to give a shout out to my mom, who's here today.
Oh, wow.
She's here. My little girl is about to graduate from preschool here in a little bit, so she's in town from Florida for that.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Congratulations, Commissioner Repenning. The next step, I believe, Mr. Campos, is mine regarding the appointment of the President Pro Tem.
That is correct. That is the last housekeeping item on this item. And that is to have the new vice president or the re-elected president to nominate a president pro tem.
Okay. Do I nominate or is I appoint, correct?
You can automatically appoint.
Right. So it's my pleasure to appoint Commissioner Davis as our new president pro tem. I am just going to say a few words about working with Commissioner Davis. It's just a delight to work with Commissioner Davis in so many ways. You know, we do a lot of work here in the public that the public sees. But Commissioner Davis and I have, over the years working together, I think have developed a very healthy working relationship. I just love working with you, Mike. I tell you that, I tell the mayor that, I tell the community that. I'm just delighted to be able to appoint you to the position of President Pro Tem and look forward to our years of continuing work together, sir.
Thank you, and I'm honored to be recognized additionally. I would pay you for the regular job of just being commissioner, and what I like about this job is that we're able to just get the work done. Having already served as a legislator, I know all of the very difficult and complex issues that are involved in public service, not only in doing the job, but dealing with the external factors as well. In public works, conversely, we're able to, as commissioners, to really zero in on the job and make sure that we communicate with the mayor's office and the city council. And finally, I want to say, to deal with Kevin, Heather, and Joelle each, we're able to really bounce ideas off. We don't have to count to 80 as you do in the legislature. We just have to count to 5. And so that's very fulfilling to be able to see your work done in this job. So I thank you so much, and again, I'm honored, and I look forward for our continued relationship.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Are we moving forward? Are we done with that, Mr. Campos?
Yes, you have. If
Okay.
hearing no objections, I'd like to move those motions forthwith. Hearing no objections, we'll move those adopted as forthwith. Congratulations again to both Mr. President and Ms. Vice President.
Thank you, everyone, and again, a thank you to Commissioner Rodriguez. I'm sorry she was unable to be here today, but we will see Commissioner Rodriguez on Monday, and we look forward to our continuing work with her. Going to agenda item number 2 is the item that was continued, or taken off calendar, I should say. Agenda item number 3, Council District 14, Bureau of Engineering and the Bureau of Contract Administration, authorizing the city engineer to issue a construction task order, Package 4, for viaduct foundations to Skanska Stacy Whitbeck, a joint venture from the construction manager general contractor contract to complete the viaduct foundations for the 6th Street Viaduct. Also to request that SSW submit the required bonds and insurance documents. The contract amount for this task order, Package 4, is $24,114,000. On agenda item number 3, Mr. Herman, you have a card.
Yes, I'd like to make a suggestion that in order to approve of this measly $24 million, that I suggest that there be a motion that there be scrutiny consistent with an audit when these bonds and insurance documents go forward. Because in the past, there's been some issues regarding hidden money or money gone to waste, abuse, and fraud, embezzlement. So I want to make sure that these projects in CD14 and the completion of the 6th Street Viaduct go in order of business without delay, because we all know the scumbag Jose Huizar, who's derailed us in Boyle Heights, who's caused us so much harm. I'm not going to go any further than that. I hold my time to 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Well, it says WS. I'm going to assume that's Wayne Spindler on number 2. I'm sorry, number 3.
Right, also known as a goddamn dummy. So what do we got here? CD14, the criminal Jose Huizar district, where the crime wave is happening. CD14, the mafia's training ground. See, everybody out of Chicago and New York, when they want to join the mafia and get made, they come to CD14 and learn how it's done, like construction projects. That's a nice mafia venture. So $24 million for a federal project. But you don't have to worry. They used to care about that. They don't care anymore. Spend all you want. Come to LA and just up your bids, and then just keep adding these change orders, and these 5 schmucks will give you anything you want without question. As these 5 schmucks have orders to funnel every dollar they can get out of that budget to their friends. So when you get these contracts, underbid them a little bit, let's say 5-10%. After that, go ahead and change order the shit out of it, and you'll make 30, 40, 50% profit on these projects when you get done. This is the mafia training ground. Chicago, shout out. Hootie hoo. Down there in the south side of Brooklyn, shout out. Hootie hoo. This is a mafia city, and this is the #1 training ground for all of you and your projects. So just come over and get your money, bring your bags, and these guys will fill up those bags with as much money as you want, because those numbers don't mean a goddamn thing, because they got $4 billion to give out, and all of you are welcome to take this city for a ride.
Thank you, Mr. Spindler. Julia Moy.
Good morning. My name is Julia Moy with the Bureau of Engineering, and it is my honor today to present to you this report that will be the start of a new icon for the city of Los Angeles. This today is the 4th of 6 viaduct construction packages. 3 packages have gone before the board. First, the viaduct intersection package, which has been completed. Second was the viaduct demolition package, which is underway and will complete construction this calendar year. Third was the test pile. The test pile package really laid the way for this foundation package, allowing us to be very efficient in our design and delivery of the foundations for the bridge. And here we have today a request to award the foundations for the viaduct. The scope of this package includes installation of the piles and lower columns. So the piles for this bridge are massive, 10-foot wide, about 140 feet deep columns. Also installed is the lower columns up to the bearing pad. We came to the board earlier this month and received approval for sole sourcing for those triple friction pendulum bearings, and those will be procured as a part of this contract. Finally, this contract will construct the bridge abutments at both sides of the bridge, both the downtown area of 6th and Mateo, as well as the east side of the project, just past the 101 freeway. The contractor submitted an initial proposal of $26,626,000 to construct the viaduct foundations. Through our estimate and negotiation process, we were able to bring that price down to $24,114,000 that we are requesting from the board today. I'm happy to say this package and this scope of work was deemed fully eligible by the federal government, so these are all reimbursable funds using to construct this package. We have a project labor on the agreement on the project. This great project will, employ and train, citizens of Los Angeles, and disadvantaged workers provide opportunities here in the city. The contract is 600 calendar days, so it will be just under 2 years to construct. What I do want to do is let everybody know, I know we're saying goodbye to an icon here with this new one, but we want to invite the public out. We're having a rock day where everyone here and members of the public can own a piece of the 6th Street Viaduct. That'll be taking place on Saturday, August 13th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Right over at the west downtown side near the corner of 6th and Mateo. Right over there. So please come join us and take away a piece of the viaduct. Thank you.
Any questions from Ms. Moy on this project? We'll start with Commissioner Cinto, then Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, President James. Julia, thank you for the report. It's great to have you as part of our bridge team, working alongside Julie and Alfred and the rest of the Bureau of Engineering staff. This is iconic, and we're getting now to the foundation. Can I ask you a question regarding the test pile? Did we learn anything significant from that test pile in terms of moving forward with this package, the fourth package?
We gained some efficiencies and really were able to confirm some of our geotechnical assumption. We were able to test our means and methods and have implemented a few minor efficiencies in order for, I think, the test pile itself to be representative of the other piles on the project. We're for the most part using the same means and methods, but just in the reduction of pile lengths itself in order to reduce costs and construction on the project was the result of the test pile package.
Great, thank you, Julia.
Thank you, Commissioner Cinto. Commissioner Davis.
The numbers of dollars that we're spending, this probably is the second most revenue expended project that we have in public works in general. And we are always in this board concerned about how we can look at the diversity of the minority business participation. And so and I know that structurally in federal contracts they have built in, unlike our local projects, they have built in the opportunity for prime contractors to state what their pledge is. So can you just briefly discuss with us, as it relates to this particular item, where we are with minority business participation?
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner. We advertised this project with a DBE goal of 9%, and I'm very happy to report the contractor came back with a commitment of 21.01%. So as you notice from the board report, we have a table. We've included a summary of our DBE kind of commitments and achievements thus far in the project. And our total participation is 19.05%. And the contractor has been very good and diligent about seeking DBE participation, having kind of mixers opportunities for DBE firms to come get to know the project, and also ensuring on advertisements for any packages or change order work, any scope on the project. They're definitely reaching out to DBE firms that may fit with the scope of work.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Anything further? Julia, let them know we certainly appreciate that extra work. I know that the DBE numbers look a little different than when we're doing it, when it's a federally funded project versus one that's not. Their numbers are good here, and we appreciate that. Commissioner Asentos made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 3. I'll second it along with Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issues sending number 3 forthwith? We'll send number 3 forthwith. Thank you, ma'am. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 4, Council District 14, Bureau of Engineering and Bureau of Street Services, recommending that the board approve the request to extend the existing temporary closure of 2nd Street between Hill Street and Spring Street and Broadway between 1st Street and 3rd Street from 8 a.m. July 30th, 2016, that's a Saturday, to 9 p.m. October 1, 2016, Saturday, 2 months, subject to the conditions identified within the report to facilitate the construction of pile installation, utility relocations, and roadway decking for the 2nd Broadway station in connection with the Metro Regional Connector Transit Corridor project. On agenda item number 4, Mr. Herman, you have a card on number 4.
Another of one of Jose Huizar's dumb projects. But it's in good interest of the public because we all need to connect to the station, right? We need to facilitate ourselves to 2nd and Broadway so that we can have such conditions that are in compliance with the American Disability Act so that the process of our path of travel, our direction of travel, will be welcome. After all, Metro Regional Connector Transit Corridor project? Really? Look how many years you denied us infrastructure. How many goddamn years have you denied us infrastructure to modernize the city of Los Angeles? And now that you've been bamboozled by your incompetence, incoherent ignorance to figure things out, now it's costing the taxpayers more money. More money to put public transportation and then charge those of us with disability and more so the elderly who are on low income status. Really intelligent, right? That's why that fool Eric Garcetti's out there with Hillary right now, probably waving his red little flag. You see, if you do a good job, I don't have to criticize you under the Ralph M. Brown Act, 54954.3.c. But if you're going to act like monkeys and I have to dangle a banana in front of you, talking about transportation, which I use on a daily basis, not that Mr. Bonin or Bonin cares, like Juan Acala would say it, but the jackass needs to get things done right, in a timely manner. Not 45 years later, not 75 years later when we have to pay a lot more goddamn taxes, and we don't want to pay no more goddamn taxes, and that's a fact, Jack. I reserve my remaining time back to you, sir.
2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. WS on the card. I'm going to assume that's Wayne Spindler, sir.
Right, just another little jackass. So number 4, you're going to shut down a road and you're going to put in this crap, this outdated train technology. That's right, there's a song called The Highway to Hell, and it's a train wreck. It's the train to hell, that's what it is. So by the time you finish this, it's going to be 2054. Because I was at the Encino Neighborhood Council, and we all decided to vote it down. No to that fucking sales tax. No to 60, 70-year projects. We don't want that. You know, we in the Valley don't want that. So we have to come down here to tell you that all the time. But you don't goddamn listen. You just keep shutting down roads and keep building this garbage that nobody wants. And in the end, when it does go to the valley and to the rich areas, guess what happens? Homeless people come into these neighborhoods that they weren't in before. That's why Chatsworth is being flooded by homeless encampments. That's why Burbank, in the 91436 zip code, has hundreds of people living off of Burbank Boulevard in homeless camps in fucking Prime Encino because you build public transportation so they can get from downtown into the rich, white, pasty-ass areas. That's all that's going to happen with this. Once it goes to Santa Monica, Venice, it goes into Cheviot Hills, you're going to have all those homeless encampments because they're going to move out from South Central because they shoot anybody that's black, and then they're going to go into these white areas, and then they're going to go, what the fuck happened? Well, you're building a train to move the homeless from here to the wealthy areas.
2 minutes.
Spreading the love.
Thank you, Mr. Spindler. On number 4, Christopher Sutton. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Chairman James. My name is Christopher Sutton. I'm an attorney for the Westin Bonaventure Hotel. We're not opposing the street closure at 2nd and Broadway. We just want to point out that what's gone on between your staff and MTA over the last 6 months on all of these street closures. On this one, a number of businesses are affected. MTA has a business loss mitigation program for small businesses through all their projects except the westerly half of the regional connector. The small businesses along 2nd Street and along Flower, where my client has tenants, are adversely affected by these construction activities. This body can impose a condition on these street closures that MTA extend its business loss mitigation payment program for the entire length of the regional connector project. The Bonaventure is too big and doesn't qualify because it has up to a certain level for small businesses. Our tenant, the Suede nightclub, is now out of business because of MTA construction on Flower Street. On this closure on 2nd and Broadway, you should condition that closure on MTA making the businesses along 2nd and Broadway eligible to apply, and they have to prove their losses, the business loss mitigation program. In addition, as you know, the Bonaventure has been in litigation with the MTA. We took the deposition 2 days ago of Brian Marchetti, who is the person at KOA Corporation who drafts the traffic mitigation plan for all of these projects. And what he testified 2 days ago was that the traffic mitigation plan for 2nd and Broadway was incomplete. And what we learned is that when the documents are transmitted from the subcontractor KOA to RCC Skanska to MTA, the word draft is often removed. And so that what MTA and RCC Skanska are telling your people...
30 seconds to finish, sir. Go ahead.
Sure. What MTA and RCC Skanska are telling your people are different than what they're communicating between MTA and their contractors and the subcontractors. So you need to ask MTA whether the traffic mitigation plan for 2nd and Broadway is in fact complete, and you need to interview the people at KOA Corporation in Monterey Park who did this document, and why Skanska and MTA are telling them that it's not yet complete, but they're telling your staff that it is complete. And I have other comments on general comments later in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Curtis G.
Good morning. I am Curtis Stree from the Bureau of Engineering Metro Transit Division. The Metro Regional Connector Project is a 1.9-mile underground light rail transit system through downtown Los Angeles that will extend the GO Line's Little Tokyo Station to the 7th Street Metro Center. On February 26, 2016, the Board of Public Works granted the temporary intersection closure of 2nd Street and Broadway beginning February 27, 2016 through July 30, 2016, with intermittent night and weekend closures beginning August 1st through September 10, 2016 for the construction work of the 2nd and Broadway station. According to Metro, in response to the community input concerning night and weekend work, Metro and their contractor, the Regional Constructors, RCC, is requesting a 2-month extension of the existing temporary street closure in lieu of the approved intermittent night and weekend street closures. The proposed temporary street closure extension beginning at 8 a.m. on Saturday, July 30th, 2016, and ending at 9 p.m. on Saturday, October 1st, 2016, will consist of a 2-month extension of the full closure of the following streets: 2nd Street between Hill Street and Spring Street, Broadway between 1st Street and 3rd Street. The work scheduled to be performed includes continuation and completion of the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power Phase 1 utility rearrangements consisting of utility, conduit, and duct banks. New LA DWP Phase 2 utility rearrangements that were originally planned to be constructed in 2019, consisting of additional utility, conduit, and duct banks. They're also going to do installation of piles, deck beams, and concrete panels across the intersection, and signage, striping, and signal restoration in preparation for opening up this intersection for cars. The proposed continuous full street closure will have greater impact to peak hour traffic. However, the requested continuous closure would allow the original scheduled work and the newly scheduled LADWP Phase 2 utility rearrangements to be completed sooner. The full closure would assist the residents in the community by reducing night work and associated construction noise at night, improve public and worker safety by taking advantage of the existing traffic controls, permit a more efficient construction operation, and eliminate the need for another street closure in 2019 to complete the LADWP Phase 2 utility rearrangements following station construction. Immediately following this closure, Metro and RCC plan to request an additional street closure of 2nd Street between Broadway and Spring Street for 4 additional months. This closure request will be submitted separately. Metro has stated that they have informed the community and stakeholders through briefings and meetings, distribution of construction notices, project website updates, Facebook and Twitter updates, radio advertisements, Waze notifications, and a project hotline. Metro will continue the community outreach in advance of construction activities and during the life of the project. Council District Number 14 has communicated that they support the extension request of the 2nd and Broadway area. Metro has obtained a peak hour exemption for the closure from the Bureau of Engineering. A nighttime variance permit was granted by the Los Angeles Police Department. Requests for extensions will be applied as necessary. I therefore ask the board to approve the extension of the existing temporary street closure of the intersection of 2nd and Broadway from Saturday, July 30th, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday, October 1st, 2016. Thank you. Metro and RCC are here to answer any questions.
Mr. G, thank you for the report. I'm not inclined to place a condition on this closure regarding the business interruption fund that was raised by Mr. Sutton. However, I would because I know that we are going to have additional closures that relate to this project is going to be around a while. So I am going to request from Metro an update, an agendized update on the business interruption fund, and if Mr. Sutton's statement regarding parameters or boundaries regarding the business interruption fund is accurate, then I think that they're entitled to an explanation as to why. But I'm not going to put that condition on this closure. I support this closure going forward. I would indicate that the council office supports this as well. I do have one question. I just want to confirm the accuracy of the board report statement that the Worksite traffic control plan has been approved by LADOT.
That is correct.
Okay. Commissioner Jacinto.
President James, just wanted to support you on that. The non-condition, but the deeper dive down into the business loss mitigation program. I would like Metro to report back to us as well.
Right. Okay. Commissioner Davis? Okay. Then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 4, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 4. I know that Metro's here, so we can work on a time to agendize with your office an update on the business interruption fund with a specific update on this portion of the project, pursuant to a standard agenda, so Mr. Sutton has notice. And any issue sending number 4 forthwith? We'll send number 4 forthwith. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 5, motion, Board of Public Works, Bureau of Engineering, Council District 6, recommending that the board reject bids on the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant blower air cleanup system and re-advertise at a future date. This was continued from Monday's board meeting. We had a bit of a discussion on that, and some of us wanted to do a deeper dive into it, which I will say I've had the opportunity to. Let me get to the speaker cards on number 5. Let's see. Mr. Herman, you have time on number 5. You have a card in, sir.
I can't recall that far back regarding this blow air clean up, whatever you call it, blow off, blow up. But when you talk about the engineering department and how the board rejects bids on Donald C. Tillman, there should be questions about that. After all, it's transparency. We allow bids to come in. We make the recommendations. We vote for approval or dismissal or object or we sustain. So I'm not going to lollygag too much on this, but rather I'm going to just hold my time to 1 minute. But I really would like the public to hear the specifics of this conversation on item 5 in CD6, Miss Nuri, Pimp Nuri.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. On number 5, I have a Wayne S. I'm going to assume that's Wayne Spindler.
The dummy is back. So let's see here, CD6, Nuri Martinez. I was over in the federal courthouse today, no word on the grand jury. Anybody got an update on that yet? Yeah. So you're still going to keep approving projects while the councilwoman's under federal investigation at grand jury. Keep telling you about this. You're not watching this stuff, man. You're just not watching this stuff. That's why you're digging deeper. You want to take another dive at it because you want to make sure that nobody is taking the money and funneling it into her campaign or her little thing called a discretionary fund for Nuri. Because she has a discretionary fund, and then she'll turn it into a legal defense fund. So are these people bidding on these projects contributing to her defense fund or special fund or campaign? That's why you want to dig into it. Now, what the hell is a blower air cleanup system? I mean, sounds like something you can buy at Home Depot. Can't you buy it at Home Depot? I can buy anything at Home Depot. So, how much is it going to cost? I can't answer that. Why? Because we're digging deeper into it. So it'll be interesting. This Donald Tillman water plant, I don't know, man. You just keep pouring more money into this thing. Learn to build things that actually continue to keep working. See, that's what you have to do. Stop building these faulty projects that keep breaking down like a bad old Subaru.
Thank you, Mr. Spindler. Michael Rude from Kiewit, do you want to add anything to your commentary? You're just here for questions that we may have. It's up to you, sir. Come on up, just so. Let me know what your request is, because we make an online record and a recorded record. So go ahead, sir. I'm happy to accommodate your request. What's your request?
Oh, no, I'll say what I have to say.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, so my name is Michael Rude. I'm representing Kiewit Infrastructure Westco. We understand the situation that the city and Green Building are currently facing. We also understand that Kiewit cannot be declared the low bidder unless either the city finds fault of a material nature in the bid documents of Green Building or Green Building chooses to withdraw their bid. In either case, as was stated on Monday, the funding for this project, as it is currently designed, does not seem to be available at this time. All that being said, we have enjoyed constructing projects for the City of Los Angeles. Look forward to continuing our positive relationship with its staff.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hadarian? Fred Hadarian from Green Building Corporation.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I have a question. Is the statements made on Monday, that's already on record, or do we need
Those
to
are
go
those
back?
are on the record, but sir, if you want to summarize what you said on Monday as the low bid on this, I'm going to give you the time to do that and to refresh our minds if you would like, and then we'll talk to the Bureau. So go ahead.
Sure.
That's up to you.
Thank you. I'll just summarize what was said on Monday. Our bid did not include a material that in the contract specs was stated that it will be supplied for the contractor. That same two-page spec section has definitions, and one of the definitions is media provider. It's the only definition in caps lock, and it says the entity supplying the BTF media, which refers to the material in question. The spec section discusses in the 2 pages coordination efforts between the media provider and the contractor. Therefore, when you look at this spec section, anybody would assume that this material is being supplied for the contractor. During the bid, there was a question asked, an addendum was issued. To clarify, the question was, is this material being supplied for the contractor? And the response was, refer to the spec section. There was no yes or no. It was refer to the spec section, and that spec section said it was supplied for the contractor. The spec section never mentions to contact anybody. Typically, in public works specs, you would see a note saying contact so-and-so for this material. It's nowhere in the specs, nowhere on the contract drawings. On the contract drawings, the only thing mentioned is the manufacturer of the material. We emailed the manufacturer twice in the week prior to the bid, asking them to give us a price on the material. They replied via email saying that this would be supplied directly to the city and that they are working directly with the city. When my estimator in our office told me this information, I said, email them again to confirm this. He did. And then he showed me the specs. I said, okay, this material is definitely being supplied for us. It says it in the specs. We found out that the city was intending on contractors to supply the material the day after the bid, when I received a phone call from the material supplier.
And just so the record is clear, Mr. Hadarian, the material you're talking about is the media?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I received a call from the supplier, and I told him we didn't include it because of the specs. He said, no, I believe the city wants the contractor to provide it. And I said, how come you didn't call us before? Why did you notify the other bidders? He said, we sent out faxes. The fax to your office did not go through. And I went back, I checked the contract documents, a plan holders list. It all has our correct fax numbers. We didn't have any issues receiving faxes from any of the other suppliers and subcontractors. It was just this one in particular. I don't know why it did not come through, but regardless of that, the supplier said that the manufacturer should have directed us to him as they did to the other bidders. But in our particular situation, the manufacturer told us that they're working directly with the city. The contract document stated that this material was a pre-negotiated bid item. Therefore, the material supplier provided the same price to all the bidders, all 4 bidders. It did not give us any, doesn't give us any advantage to the bid to add our price after the bid. I know we sent in a letter on June 7th stating what happened. As soon as we found out, we wanted to come forward to the city, let them know this was a mistake in the bid, this is what happened, before we get an award and there's a big can of worms later down the line. The city gave us a letter back on June 14th stating that contract amounts cannot be changed per public contract code, which is fine, but I believe Green Building Corporation should receive the contract and receive a change order after award of the contract for this material, which would not be a violation of public contract code. The material in question, the cost is $355,000. That's the same price all 4 bidders received. If you add a 15% markup per the specs, to that it's $413,000, and that would make our overall bid $5,902,000. I know on Monday, Commissioner Davis asked Mr. Ohanian from the city if adding that cost to our bid would still keep us as the low bidder, and Mr. Ohanian stated that he did not know, but if you add that price, this would be the bid results. So it's clear that Green Building Corporation would still be the low bidder by roughly $37,000 once we factor in this material price. I just want the board to keep in mind that we are a small business, SBE certified small business. We've been located in the city of LA since our inception in 2008. 90% of our workforce is city of LA residents, so this project would be very important to our company, which we rightfully won the bid and should be awarded the project.
Thank you, Mr. Hadarian.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ohanian? Just a brief summary, Mr. Ohanian, on what the Bureau is asking, and then a response to any of the issues put on the table by Mr. Hadarian, then I'll have some questions from some things I want to confirm with you. Go ahead, sir.
Sure. Eddie Ohanian, Environmental Engineering Division of the Bureau of Engineering. This is about a Donosea Tillman water reclamation plant, their air cleanup project. This facility, I'm just going to give you a brief discussion of the facility itself. This is a biotrickling facility which is organically cleans air. This is the air collected from the primary treatment and headworks facility and the sewers. This is air that contains hydrogen sulfide particles, which is very acidic and has a tendency to corrode the blowers, which are multi-million-dollar equipment and facility, and then these blowers provide air to activate its sludge process. So it is essential to protect the assets in the facility by collecting these corrosive gases from the air prior to allow them to enter the process. This biotrickling facility, which is a very interesting facility, unlike the commonly air cleanup facilities are using hydrogen, they use sodium hypochlorite and caustics. They're very corrosive chemicals. We use organic process here in this particular operation, and it does not use any chemicals. It is biologically removes the hydrogen sulfide particles and uses recycled water from the plant. And chemical facilities, they must use clean water, potable water, so they don't degrade the chemicals in the process. This process can save as much as 20,000 gallons of fresh water daily. This is in response to why are we doing air cleanup, why are we doing a biological treatment. This is a treatment which is very friendly to environment and to the employees and does not contain any hazardous chemical for handling. Now, we received 4 bids. And again, I wanted to mention what is the media used for. This trickling system, this filtration system, is a 3-story concrete building that has 3 layers of media embedded in there. This is the media
And that's the media that's referenced as the subject of this issue.
Correct, and that's what I'm trying to clarify. This facility uses air pumps that they pump air from the collection systems, and they put through this process. First, we take out the grease from the air through the degreasing process, and then run it through this filtration system, and then we use moisturizer removal process before the air is dried and is ready for going into the operation. This particular media, there is a large quantity of it used, and if you look at them, it appears to be like a blue sponge. However, they are used to incubate microorganisms within the filtration system. And this is where microbes are grown, and they can thrive on organic hydrogen sulfide for degradation of and turning them into non-organic sulfur. Now, on June 1st, we received 4 bids. And Green Building Corporation is the apparent low bidder. However, on June 6th, 6 days later, we received a letter from Green Building that they have notified us that they have omitted the procurement of the media system. On June 14, we responded to them. Let me double check, make sure. On June 14, we responded to them in writing that we cannot allow for correcting of the bids and adding the media to the project at this point. That would be, again, violation of the state law. Now, again, if you look at the bid provided by the Green Building, it has a line item number 7 on that bid package that they have included, and I'm going to read this to you. On line item 7, it says a sole source media per article biotrickling filter media of technical specifications, section 13446, include tax, shipping, and markup. And the contractor put in $150,000 for this item. And then, of course, if you look at the letter, they say they omitted. They're not providing the media. However, there's $150,000 put into their bid.
So Mr. Anian, so your position then is, because this is the crux of this was language that said it's being provided for the contractor versus language that says it's provided by the contractor.
Correct.
Your response is that because they included the price of $150,000, they clearly understood it was to be provided by the contractor.
Yes, and there's also a section before section 13446. There's a section 3445 that is mentioned in section 3446 twice, that refers to section 3445, that clearly mentions that the media to be fabricated, produced, and supplied for a complete operating system that includes the structure, includes the media, includes all the electrical and mechanical components. So it is a very extensive section. It talks about training, it talks about operation, it talks about maintenance, it talks about startup of the media system. Therefore, we do admit that section 13446, there is some inconsistency. However, Kiewit Pacific, within the first 3 weeks of bid that we advertised the project, they have submitted upwards of 20 to 30 questions. One of the questions referred to that section 13446. And then we have made some corrections to section 446 and we attached to our addendum. However, in that 3 weeks, when all contractors are submitting their questions, we received 0 questions from Green Building, no questions. And then we prepared a written document, which I submitted a copy to you, that is addendum number 1. This addendum was sent to all bidders, including Green Building. Therefore, all bidders bid the project on equal grounds with equal information. Now, if there was any confusion, then why are we putting $150,000? I guess, my personal opinion, I cannot really know what they did, but if there was any confusion, they should have asked. They didn't. However, now they're saying that they want to ask $413,000 which is based on 350 plus tax and handling and shipping. They're asking for that handling and shipping costs already for $150,000, including the procurement. Therefore, they're asking for additional $413,000. And then I have to mention that the three other bidders, they bid this project roughly around $400,000 to $500,000 on this item number 7. They realized their bid was very low. Therefore, they have written this letter to want to make sure that they don't lose money on this. Therefore, they're asking the city to give them additional funds. So our recommendation to the board is, if I may, to reject the bids and give us an opportunity to go clean up these 2-page specifications and re-advertise the project. That will be the best interest of the city.
I want to add one thing to the record, Mr. Hanian, and as a result of the issue raised by Mr. Hadarian on the potential confusion. And this just comes from more than 20 years of practicing law, frankly. Recognizing the difference between the section 13445, which clearly states that the layers of media are to be furnished, and that's a quote, shall be furnished by the contractor.
Correct.
And then I see the language the issue that came up later from Mr. Hadarian from section 13446 that says work required under this section consists of furnishing biotrickling filter media for the contractor to cut and install into complete BTF units. The intent of the and it goes on. The very next sentence and section, very next section in all caps says definitions of, and the definition says media provider.
True.
The next statement says the entity supplying the BTF media. True. My point is, if the city were the media provider, then that's the opportunity for it to say the city is the media provider.
True.
The contracting entity is the media provider.
True. I guess that's where we think that we need to go back and clean that section. Again, the three other bidders, they have looked at this project technical specifications, which is few thousand pages. They're not just those 2 pages. None of them have this problem when they bid the project. They all understood that this would be procured and provided and installed by the contractor. However, I do understand and we do acknowledge that there is an inconsistency in that section 13446. Therefore, we'd like to go back and make that correction.
And I think going back to clear it up 100% is good. But what I'm reading here is 95%, maybe 99%, True. That it is to be provided by the contractor. And so I don't buy that a reasonable review of this could read it any other way.
True.
I accept that there is confusion, that there's legitimate confusion here, thus the questions. But there are 2 things that weigh against Green Building on this issue that they've raised. That's the insertion of the $150,000 and the very next section in all caps, which describes who the media provider is to be.
Ideally, they would have left 0 for line item 7, and then they would completely omit this from their proposal. However, they put $150,000 later on that this is not sufficient, therefore they're asking for the remainder.
The issue that was put in place by Mr. Rood from Kiewit that may have come up in the last hearing on Monday, that the low amount is above the amount budgeted for this, would mean that we're going to, if all bids are rejected either way, frankly, we're going to have to go back for a budget review, in essence, to get approval for additional funds if this is going to be accomplished, this project. Is that accurate, as was described earlier?
Yes, it is accurate. Our budget for now, at this minute, is $4.4 million as approved by the Oversight Committee of the Bureau of Sanitation. If we attempt to award this contract to either of the 4 bidders, we must go back and then present the case to the Oversight Committee, get their approval and funding for the project, and then award the contract, hopefully in the future with the hope bids that they comply with the project requirements.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Eddie, thank you for the clarification. In hearing the more information, more detail about a bid that was included for that line item leads me to support that idea that there was knowledge that the meter should be provided by the contractor. It is reasonable to assume that. The process-wise, I think we're kind of up against the process, which will not allow us to go to the second bidder, lowest bidder, because of the presence of the low bid. And so I think the city attorney's recommendation, concurrence, that we reject all bids is really the way we got to go. I'm glad that we did admit that there was a discrepancy. And in any bidding process, that's important to rectify, to correct. So I don't think we're losing any sort of credibility in rejecting all bids and reissuing. That's what I'm support.
Thank you. That'll be my motion, and second by Commissioner Sendo. Commissioner Davis?
I just wanted to clarify, is this the one where the contractors were 38% over what the estimate was?
That's true. That's correct.
So I've got a motion seconded by, anything to add, Mr. Jordan?
No.
My motion, seconded by Commissioner Sento, is that we reject the bids on this. Is there any objection? Without objection, that'll be the order. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Thank you all. Thank you. Agenda item number 6, Bureau of Sanitation, recommending that the board authorize the requisition of approximately 100. We have to wait a moment. We'll have to wait just a moment. Thank you. Continuing on, agenda item number 6, Bureau of Sanitation, recommending that the board authorize the requisition of approximately $194,730.98 and purchase the gas chromatography sulfur detector, nitrogen detector, that's GCSC DNC system, that will be procured by the Public Safety Commodity Group of the General Services Department. There's another word on the agenda that looks like it's chemiluminescence detector.
Chemiluminescence.
Okay, thank you. That on agenda item number 6, we have 2 speaker cards, ma'am. Before we go to you, on agenda item number 6, Mr. Herman, you have a card on number 6. I'm glad you were able to get. I tried it. I couldn't get it.
It's called chemiluminescence, Director, under the gas chromatography sulfur and chemiluminescence. Nitrogen. A lot of difficult words here. See, kids, we come to work And we find out that on old business on item 5, there was a discrepancy, but I'm going to stay on topic for item 6, BPW 2016-0105. See, Mr. B asked me to translate this for you people, that a system that will be procured by the public should be safe, so that general service departments don't make any further mistakes.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Mr. Spindler on number 6.
So here we go with another toy. I mean, gas, chromatography, sulfur, chemiluminescence detector, nitrogen chemiluminescence detector, GCS-CDNC system that will be procured by the Public Safety Commodity Group of the General Services Department. Translation: it's a fucking toy to play with. They're playing with a toy. This is a very expensive, fun toy to play with.
On you go, girls and boys, you can play with Play-Doh.
And you can play with this GCSCDNC. Why? Because the Board of Public Works doesn't know what it is. So they'll just approve it. You're like the Department of Defense. Very good. So whoever came up with this public safety commodity group, the mafia in Chicago is definitely going to be texting that back as a proposal for the Chicago group and the New York group, and also the London mafia is interested in this too. And, what is it? Bullshit. One night, where are you going to buy it? I noticed Siemens has one. You're probably going to give them the contract. Then they're going to have servicing contracts for it because they're going to have to service it. That's another $100,000. So it's just some guy with a lab coat that wants a nice toy to play with. Remember, children, Daddy can't give you every toy you want for Christmas, except if your daddy is named Kevin James.
I want toys,
Minutes.
Kevin.
Ms. Wang. Go ahead, ma'am.
Chairman, Commissioner, Legal Counsel, Bureau Representatives, and Executive Officer. My name is Li Huang for sanitation. So I'm here for your approval to purchase 3 laboratory equipment, which is item number 6, 7, and 8. So for number 6, that is a GC-SCD, NCD equipment. Essentially, it's just a equipment to test air contaminant. So this is a replacement equipment. We have existing equipment. It passed its useful life cycle, so we have to replace that. And if we don't, then we could not meet the EPA and SCAQMD's requirement to monitor the odor control and greenhouse gas, the monitoring requirement. And also the air sample has very short sample holding time. We have to do that right away. So it's difficult to outsource to private lab to do the testing. And this equipment produces about $150,000 per year if we outsource the testing.
Just so the record is clear, the GC-SCD, NCD equipment is required to analyze air organic compounds such as sulfur oxides and sulfur dioxide, SOx and NOx, of course, to monitor air emissions from the water reclamation plants, which is, as you had indicated, Ms. Wang, an EPA requirement. Colleagues, any questions on agenda item number 6, Commissioner Jacinto?
Thank you. Really quick. The savings you mentioned, Ms. Wang, that that we will be saving over $150,000 by not outsourcing the testing?
The outsourcing is difficult because when you have sample, you have to do that within the 24 hours. So it's hard to send to outside lab to do that. So we usually do that in-house.
Okay.
Right.
So I understand that the lifespan of the equipment is how long, do we know?
Life cycle is usually 5 years.
Okay. And that we would be recapturing and saving that amount of money that would be outsourced during that time.
Right,
correct?
because every year we produce $150,000. So within a year, we recover the cost.
Very good. Thank you.
Any further? Is there, I'll make a motion on agenda item number 6 that we adopt agenda item number 6, seconded by Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Jacinto. So that'll be the order. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Ms. Wong, before we go to number 7 and 8, we'll take our speaker cards on those, okay? And then we'll come right back to you. Agenda item number 7. The Bureau of Sanitation recommending the board authorize the requisition of $133,738. This is to purchase the gas chromatography mass spectrometry system that will be procured by the Public Safety Commodity Group of the General Services Department, which is also required to analyze our samples. Mr. Herman, you have a card on number 7.
Yes, students. I just got back from my research about the apparatus for methods of analysis, and we use these tools to record and measure. It's like a detector. It goes beep, 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 beep. And then this instrument is used to measure properties of light over a specific portion of electromagnetic spectrum, typically used in spectroscopic analysis to identify measurable materials, variably used to measure often lights of intensity. Like when I use an intensifier, it says this fucking thing don't work. But I'm sorry, I shouldn't use intensifiers for this subject. Such as it records electron volts, which has a reciprocal relationship to wavelength. So you see, when we spend money to do a good goddamn job, we figure things out by using a method of analysis. But if our analysts don't come in here with the right instruments and do the discovery based on public safety, then we're going to fuck things up in our city, and General Service Department is going to take the responsibility of all these issues. So I'm not wrong when I talk this way. I use intensifiers to point out my opinion on the optical gas-related issues of apparatus to record and measure, and use this detector to figure goddamn things out. I waive the remaining balance time to Mr. Spindler. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Mr. Spindler, Mr. Spindler, you don't have a card on number 7. Ms. Wong? Ms. Wong, go ahead. I don't have a card on number 7. Ms. Wong, go ahead. I don't have a card on you, Mr. Spindler. Ms. Wong, come forward. I don't have a card for you, Mr. Spindler. Ms. Wong, come forward. Go ahead.
Okay. So this GCMS equipment, $134,000, is a workhorse. We do the effluent monitoring for semi-volatile organic compound. Those is required by NPDES, the EPA requirement for treatment plant, effluent, and for landfill, groundwater, and for Santa Monica Bay, for Los Angeles Harbor, for Los Angeles River, any fish sediment samples, we all need this equipment to do the work. So the existing equipment is the same over its life cycle of 5 years. So we have to replace that to be economical.
Okay. And this too relates to the mandated compliance testing regarding the water treatment plants and the groundwater of the landfill facilities?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions, colleagues, on number 7? Commissioner Santos made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 7. Any issue sending 7 forthwith? We'll send number 7 forthwith. Agenda item number 8. The Bureau of Sanitation recommending that the board authorize the requisition of $326,734.31 and purchase the triple quadrupole liquid chromatology mass spectrometry system procured by the Public Safety Commodity Group of the General Services Department, again related to number 6 and 7. On number 8, Mr. Herman. You have a card on number 8.
I'm waiting, please.
Okay. Ms. Wong, go ahead on number 8.
So this is LC-MS equipment. It cost about $327,000. It's quite expensive. It will be the first equipment we have for recycled water testing because city tried to increase the reclaimed water, so we need to test for those requirements. So EPA has requirement for testing in contaminants of emerging concern, CEC, so which include pharmaceuticals, personal care products, and antibiotics, fire retardants. Yeah, a lot of new contaminant we have to do. So.
Thank you, ma'am. I would again note, just for the record, that this relates to our legally mandated compliance testing and process control to support and ensure that the 4 water reclamation plants operate efficiently and effectively to meet our permitting requirements and compliance. Any questions on number 8? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 8, seconded by Commissioner Cento. Any issue sending number 8 forthwith? We'll send number 8 forthwith. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Have a nice weekend. Agenda item number 9, on a status of our consultant contracts. I've got a card from, there's no name on this, but it's, it just says BPW. So Mr. Spindler or Mr. Herman, whoever is identified on BPW, on number 9.
Time. So here we have consulting contract time. Yes, it's time for everybody to feed. Come on up, consulting contractors. Come over here to the left. Come over here to the right. Get your noses in there and feed because there's a big pile of cash. It's called consulting contracts. This is the part where everybody comes in to feed. Yes, just come on up. I see all the little piggies. Don't be bashful. No, you got to get out of here, doggy. This is only for the piggies. So now, you can have a consulting contract for anything. Like, for example, you got 3 non-lawyers, Mr. Englander, Mr. Kanabi, and Mr. Allen. They form an LLC, and they're a consulting firm. That's all you got to do. All you got to do is form an LLC. Just go down and pay the filing fee, and then call yourself a consultant, and then they'll start giving you contracts to do nothing but write reports, and you can have some college kid write reports, sign it, get your $50,000, get your $100,000. That's all this shit is. All these things could be done in-house, but, you know, things have to keep moving along. People have to get paid. So anyway, come on, I see a couple of more of them. There's another one. There's another one. Ooh, that's a big contract. I think one of them is for $4 million back there. Okay, time to feed the pork barrel.
Yvette Madachian on number 9.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Yvette Madachian, and I'm with the Office of Wage Standards, Bureau of Contract Administration. On April 27, 2016, BCA requested authority to execute personal services contracts with pre-qualified and on-call community and business outreach consultants for various wage standards enforcement and implementation projects. On May 6, 2016, your board adopted and executed the contracts with the 12 consultants on the pre-qualified on-call list. Since these contracts are very new, as of today, we have issued 2 task order solicitations. Our focus is on employer outreach. We want to make sure the City of Los Angeles' employers are aware of and understand the city's minimum wage and the sick time benefits requirements. One of the consultants is providing outreach to Los Angeles' Asian Pacific American employers, and the other consultant is reaching out to over 140 different business associations, chambers of commerces, business improvement districts, and BizFed, which also include all the ethnically diverse associations and business organizations. Currently, we are working on issuing more task order solicitations, and we'll be doing more employee as well as employer outreach in culturally diverse manner in this upcoming fiscal year. This concludes my presentations. I thank you for your time, and I will answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, ma'am, for the report. Any questions? Commissioner Cinto.
Thank you, President James. Yvette, thank you for the report. So this is, the one you mentioned is outreach regarding minimum wage in diverse communities. Are we using multiple languages
Yes,
to reach out?
we are. The Asian Pacific American is being done in Thai and Chinese and Japanese. And the other consultant, even though it's done in English, is reaching out to diverse business organizations such as the Armenian Chamber of Commerce, the Arab American Association of Engineers, the Black Business Association, the French American Chamber. So we're trying to reach out to all the different ethnic communities in the city of LA.
Do we have Spanish language capacity?
Yes, we do.
Good.
We do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cinto. Anything else? Thank you, ma'am. Your
Thank you
report
so
will be
much.
received. Agenda item number 10, quarterly status report for stormwater capture, Bureau of Sanitation. And
Mr. President, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer,
Yes.
we do have other speakers on item number 9. If you want to continue to 10, we can come back to 9. So I do have,
we have what?
I do have 2 other speakers on item number 9 from the Bureau of Sanitation, Sherry Kuroki, and also from the Bureau of Engineering, Dominique Buenaventura.
Oh, yes, please. I'm sorry.
In whatever order.
Sherry is always brief. So I was briefed on it, so
Oh,
sorry
okay,
about
then
that,
that's it.
Sherry. I forgot about it.
That's okay.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, Commissioners, Bureau Rep, City Attorney, Executive Officer. My name is Sherry Kuroki. I'm with the Bureau of Sanitation. Here to present our quarterly contract status report for the period ending June 30th. I'll keep this brief. The total amount billed since the last quarter was $22.4 million. The total for contracts with MBE, WB, OBE participation was $15.6 million. And the subcontractor participation breakdown is as follows. MBE 4.1%, WBE 5.4%, and OBE 10.8% for a total of 20.3%. We have 3 solid waste biosolids contracts expiring within the next 9 months. All 3 of them will be renewed. A lot of these contracts are contracts you already heard in past monthly and quarterly reports, so I'll just highlight the ones I haven't gone over before. Big Belly Solar, initially I told you it wasn't going to be renewed. However, Council District 1 has expressed an interest in amending that contract for a couple more years to continue using those solar-powered trash compactors. West Coast Rendering and Rarick Pacific I've spoken to about before. Those contracts will also be extended to additional time. Of our 6 wastewater contracts, all 6 will be renewed. Of the 6, 2 of them are added from previous reports. Those 2 are Myron Electric Construction Corporation, and that contract is going to be amended to clarify some compensation language that's contained in the contract. And USA Waste of California, That's for the multifamily residential recycling program. And the project manager is intending to exercise a 1-year renewal option contained in the contract. In regards to our MBE and WB deviation concerns, we have 3 added since the last quarter. 2 of them, actually all 3 of our on-call contracts, we're either awaiting additional information from the project manager to complete data input into our database. And one of them actually has a very small deviation, Geosyntec, and that's because we haven't received any invoices to date. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions? I don't have any questions. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And the next Bureau of the Interior report?
Good morning. My name is Dominic Buenaventura. I'm with the Project and Award and Control Division of the Bureau of Engineering. I'm here to give the quarterly report of the status of our personal services contracts for the period of April 1st through June 30th, 2016. Now, my report consists mainly of verbal comparisons between the quarters of the previous and this quarter. So, during this past quarter, there was a total of 132 contracts, which is 1 more than the previous quarter. The total invoice during this period was $10.75 million, and that's about $4.45 million more than last quarter. There is 1 unexecuted contract amendment approved by this board during that quarter, which is being reviewed by the Council Administrative Office and awaiting final execution. 22 of our contracts that require minority and women or disadvantaged business enterprises have negative deviations from their pledged goals, which is 4 more than last quarter. There were 10 tasks awarded to our BOE consultants, and that is 1 less than the last quarter. Now, for contracts requiring minority and women business participation, a total of $7.3 million was invoiced, and that's approximately $1.4 million more than the previous quarter. 13.8% of that $7.3 million was paid to MBE firms, 9.3% to WBE firms, and 15.2% to other business enterprises. For contracts that require disadvantaged business participation, $3.4 million was invoiced, and that's about $3 million more than the previous quarter. 8.4 of that amount was paid to DBE, and 9.1 to other business firms. So in total, $1.98 million was paid to our minority, women, or disadvantaged businesses, and $1.42 million was paid to other business enterprises, to the subconsultants. Now, this represents a total of about 31.6 of the total invoice for that period, for that quarter. So that concludes my report, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, sir. The oral report will be received. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 10, a quarterly status report for stormwater capture from the Bureau of Sanitation. And on this item, we have Mr. Herman on number 10. Mr. Herman on number 10. Pass on number 10. Mr. Spinner on number 10.
Mr. President, Fernando Campos, Executive Officer, just for clarity, Mr. Spindler has 17 minutes under the 10-minute aggregate, 17 seconds under the 10-minute aggregate rule.
Mr. Spindler, your 17 seconds, sir.
I will keep the rest of the time. Fuck the Board of Public Works.
Majid Siddiqui, go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much, President James, and thank you everybody for having me here. I'm Majid Siddiqui with LA Sanitation. I will be talking about the status report for the stormwater capture utilizing green infrastructure for City of Los Angeles. There is a handout which I gave to everybody, so I'll just go really quickly on this green infrastructure in the city. Of course, we have the institutional one, which is the LID, and then the distributed, which is our Green Street, and we have the regional, which is like wetlands. The project that was a ribbon cutting on Broadway Neighborhood Stormwater Greenway, we had that on May 26, and that project is finished right now. The other project is the Avalon Green Alley North, the LID demonstration project. This one basically, we are just finishing the construction this week. Next week, we're going to have the CONAT, they're going to come out there, do the final inspection. The Laurel Canyon Boulevard Green Street, that's is going to be finishing hopefully in mid or end of August. That one's project is moving forward. The Penmar Water Quality Improvement, they had the groundbreaking for phase 2. That groundbreaking June 30th. The Temescal Canyon Park, that one they had, it's in construction right now. It's supposed to finish in November 2017. The Albion Riverside Greenway Park, it's in design right now. The Elisio Creek, Lime Lake Creek Restoration Project, that's in design and it's supposed to be completed in March 2020. The Argo Drain in LAX, that one is in design right now. The Royshaw Wetlands Park, that has gone back to redesign and hopefully the construction will be finished in May 2021. We have a project with LA Water and Power and LA Sanitation. Is a $50 million project. That project is going through TOS right now. We're going to get our contractor to perform those projects. There are 5 projects for that, for $50 million. And we just finished this greater Los Angeles water collaboration with the LA County Water and Power and LA Sanitation. It was a $1.2 million project where we did 3 parcels in the valley and 3 in South LA, where we captured the stormwater and they use it on their parcel. And of course, there's a lot of examples I've given for the LID. You have at the end, you have a map that kind of, a table that kind of shows all the projects we've done and how much we are capturing and how much we are infiltrating. And if you have any question, I'm willing to answer.
But we just love seeing this. This is
okay.
Great. And all of the work that's being done here and the progress that's being made here. It's very significant and very important that it happens in this urban center in the country.
Okay.
So any questions, colleagues, on this? Keep up the good work on this.
Thank you so much,
sir.
President. Thank you so much.
Agenda item number 11. Agenda item number 11, semi-annual report on construction bond programs and municipal facilities from the Bureau of Engineering. Mr. Herman, you have a card on number 11.
Normally, you look in the back of the room, there's a booklet there, and it gives you the minutes of this topic regarding the annual status report of construction bond programs. Now, whether or not I'm off topic or not, I am talking about bonds that impact homeowners or people who own property, because the assessment of this means that your property taxes go up. And we're paying for bullshit that does not pertain to us as a homeowner, because the bonds have to be paid back. If we don't pay the bonds back, guess what? Guess what? You know what happens. And then specifically in the detail of the bond report needs to have a itemized breakdown of what the bond specifically target of business is for. So if we're going to stand here and say that the annual status report of construction bond program by the Bureau of Engineering is A-OK, I find that questionable. Because on item 5 of the agenda this morning, under old business, there were some people very upset regarding their bids. And this is a good example how homeowners should be upset when we're paying for bonds to pay for homelessness. This is not a homelessness program. This is an issue regarding taxpayers, ratepayers like Wayne Spindler and the other woman who will probably come up here and have some disagreement and arguable objection to all this bullshit.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Yolanda Gonzalez. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine.
My name is Yolanda Gonzalez, and I'm a property owner in Boyle Heights and in Venice, and I'm part of the Neighborhood Council for Venice. And I've just been appointed to attend these meetings in the Department of Water and Power to inform back to the stakeholders where we stand. Second of all, I want to invite you to come out to our meetings because, as you know, we had over close to 4,000 people come to our election because we have people that are very, very disgusted with what's happening within our city. That's a lot of voters, and we're going to bring them out for elections for November the 7th. The reason I'm here is because I am in question as to what the agenda item of 11, because I'm not understanding where these bonds are. As a property owner, and if we're trying to solve the homeless problem, it's the county's responsibility to solve that problem for us. We've got a lot of land east of us, which is in the county. Montebello, Rosemead, there's a lot of empty land there. But I'll tell you something, we had $45 million worth of property sales just last month in Venice. We have a new group of people moving into Venice, and they're moving west because of the weather, because it's cooler. I'm heading, and I'm part of the committee of the new cityhood, which is approved by the board, to lead Venice into cityhood again. You might think, it's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you something. I'm a naturalized citizen, and I came to this country because the American has the ability to reinvent itself. And because many property owners who showed up for that vote in Venice are very, very upset. There are property owners that are paying $15,000 to $20,000 to $24,000 in property taxes, and nobody has accounted for that.
2 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. We have your card on general public comment, too. Ms. Weintraub?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
My name is Deborah Weintraub. I'm the Chief Deputy City Engineer for the Bureau of Engineering. I'm here to report to you about projects that are under my responsibility. We're at the end of the bond program. We have 2 remaining projects that are being built with bond savings. So I'm taking this opportunity to also briefly show you some other projects that come under the Public Buildings and Open Space program. Next slide. So in the Public Buildings and Open Space program from this current fiscal year that we're in, I'm reporting to you that there are 27 projects totaling $115 million that we've committed and 19 projects that we will complete totaling $100 million, approximately $100 million. For you today, I just quickly want to run through some of our major projects that we will be working on this year. Next slide. As part of the 6th Street Viaduct open space, our 6th Street Viaduct Bridge project, we are doing 12 acres of open space. This diagram shows you the areas that will be redone on the west side of the river, and the next diagram next shows you the open space that will be redone on the east side of the river. The drawings, the scale of the drawings is a little misleading. The predominant open space is on the east side of the river. We put out a task order solicitation request for proposals for this work, and the task order solicitation responses are due today. So shortly I will be able to report to the board on, come back to the board to ask for your concurrence with awarding that task order. The next project that I wanted to briefly present to you is the Studio City Gymnasium. I know that we have a long history in the Bureau of Engineering of doing leadership in energy and environmental design, or LEED projects. Because of state mandates to begin to look at net zero for commercial buildings, we've initiated 2 of our first pilot net zero projects. The first one we're working on is an in-house design at the Studio City Gymnasium, and this image shows you the site that we're working on. The next image shows you we're in early stages of design where we're looking at 2 configurations for the site layout, and with consultant help we're doing some very sophisticated energy modeling to see which of those design layouts, given orientation to sun, access to wind, overhangs, is going to perform more efficiently than the other. The next project is a project that we're in design about 60%, which is the Channel 35 television relocation. We're moving Channel 35 to 2 historic buildings at Olvera Street. In addition to this work on the building, there's separate packages for studio equipment, and we're doing some seismic upgrades to Pico House, which is an adjacent building that shares a structural wall. The next image shows you what the project will look like, basically from the freeway side. As part of compliance with the federal standards for historic restoration, new components are meant to be designed as clearly distinguished from the old. So you see there a circular tower, which is an elevator and stair component of the project. The next project is a project that is very dear to my heart. I'm excited about. We're starting the design after we come to your board, which will be here shortly to ask your concurrence with awarding to a team for 12 miles of bikeway gaps along the river in the valley, which will include native planting, pedestrian and bicycle amenities, artistic elements, stormwater elements. The next slide shows you, I did want to acknowledge that Commissioner Repenning played a very important role in helping bringing this to fruition, and it also is a joint project jointly funded with the County of LA, which has been also very important. The next slide shows the extent of the valley bikeways, where they occur all across the valley. We have completed some of these bikeways, and this will allow us to fill in the gaps. And the next slide gives you a little more detail. Lastly, I know that we've presented to your board previously a project to do an asphalt plant. We've worked very closely with our colleagues at Street Services. The board awarded this in June, and we are issuing the NTP within the next couple of weeks. And it's an important project environmentally important project for the city of Los Angeles. And the next slide just shows you the configuration of the asphalt plant. There's a lot of details I skipped over, but it's been a long morning, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Ms. Weintraub? Commissioner Jacinto,
Thank you,
please.
President James. Deborah, thank you. I know you went fast, and there's a lot here in terms of public buildings and open spaces, and these are really iconic projects for our city. The river, 12 miles of bike lanes are all significant. The historic renovation of in El Pueblo, the lead project Net Zero for Studio City Gym. These are all throughout Los Angeles, very important public projects. I want to thank you and the Bureau and the Architectural Division and all the staff involved in developing these projects for our city. It's really in alignment with the mayor's vision for sustainable Los Angeles, to build things that are better, that will last. So I appreciate you. Thank you very, very much for this presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weintraub. I would just echo what Commissioner Jacinto said. Thank you for the update.
Thank you.
We have a speaker card on this. Mr. Spindler, you have 11 seconds, I'm told. I'm sure this will be enlightening.
So to use an intensifier for NWA, fuck, Board of Public Works. Fuck, Board of Public Works. Fuck, Board of Public Works. Fuck, Board of Public Works.
Time.
Fuck.
Incredible. Let's see. We have another, let's do general public comment. On general public comment, Mr. Sutton, sir.
My name is Christopher Sutton. I'm an attorney for the Westin Bonaventure Hotel. And as you may know, we've been in litigation with MTA over the construction of the regional connector for 4 years. We filed a new lawsuit in March, and we've taken discovery. And what we found is that your employees have been behaving at a very high level and very honorably in trying to protect the public safety, whereas the MTA's employees have been misleading your employees, the Department of Transportation, the Police Commission, Department of Water and Power. And they do this by saying the opposite things to different departments. So they tell Bureau of Engineering and your people, we need peak hour exemptions to close lanes of traffic on Flower Street and 5th and 4th, because it's too noisy to do this work on weekends and evenings. They then go to the Police Commission and say, we want to do this work on weekends and evenings because it's not very noisy at all. They tell on Flower Street, there is a pending proposal to close it to do the decking on Flower Street. And part of that is, should MTA be required to do a traffic management plan, which is a much bigger document than a worksite traffic control plan that the chairman spoke about. And that these have gone through various iterations over time. And what they have said to BOE and LADOT is, we don't want to do this because we're not closing all of Flowers Street or all of 4th or all of 5th. So don't make us do it. Yet at the same time, they are actually preparing a traffic management plan. We took a deposition 2 weeks ago of the LADOT personnel, and he was shocked when we provided a copy of the draft traffic management plan that MTA has told your staff they're not preparing. And therefore, because we're not going to prepare it, don't make us prepare it. But in fact, they are preparing it. We took the deposition of the contractor 2 days ago at KOA, and it's in draft now, and it's gone through 5 or 6 drafts during the time period that MTA is telling your staff that they're not going to prepare a traffic management plan for Flower Street.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton.
So I urge you to have a convocation between your staff, DOT, LAPD, and the Board of Water and Power to compare what MTA is telling you, because there's too much deceit going on.
You've given us that message. We've heard it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Mr. Herman on general public comment.
Well, as you heard, I just got back from Sacramento visiting the 32nd District, room of 5061, that of the area code 916-651-432, Mr. Tony Mendoza. And guess what I was doing in Mr. Tony Mendoza's office as I talked to him about SLAP, Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation of Advocacy. Who are the advocates of Los Angeles? We the people. 54950.5 point. And because of such rules by certain prosecutors of the city of Los Angeles, placing us under such harm and threats as brought out by the LA Times under the California section article based on Hugo Rossiter's violent attack on Wayne Spindler, and to include my name, Armando Herman, in this investigation. Fuck you for my opinion on that. But then now going on topic of Miss Vanita Gupta, Gupta, for the extension of public comment regarding supplemental advance notice of rule making on accessibility and accommodations based on Title II ADA. I demand accommodations under Title II, Title III, and any other Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and Section 504 for my issues of disability. So anyone with a disability who I advocate on behalf, such as my parent, and any person non-disabled with a visible or non-disability, I represent you. So fuck you.
Mr. Herman on general public comment. I'm sorry, Mr. Spinner on general public comment.
Yes, more jackass rodeo. The lawyer told you. The lawyer who still has a shred of belief in this world told you that the police commission doesn't talk to the DWP, they don't talk to you. You're fucking business up. He took the deposition. You know how much money that costs? If you just let people work. You're not letting the Bonaventure work. People can't work because you keep interfering and fucking with people's business. Holding press conferences, saying stupid shit. Wrong place at wrong time. Then you got people making comments in the LA Times and all the other media about shit that's confidential. If something's confidential, that means you don't talk about it in public.
We know what that's called? 42 USC 1983. I went somewhere this morning. Taking care of this goddamn shit. I'm tired of it. I'm fucking tired of it. So I'm going to start taking care of this thing. I'm going to put it in the right place. We're going to talk to Judge Ronald S.W. Liu about this shit. Shit's got to stop. People got to go back to work. People have to be allowed to live in this fucking city and work, but you don't let us work. Bonaventure can't work, Dr. Armando Herman can't work, and Venice wants its own city. Let Venice go. It used to be a city in the 1920s. Let it go back to being its own city so they don't have to come here and deal with you. They don't want you. They don't want Mike Bonin. They want their own governance. People want to govern themselves. Free Venice. It's free Venice, free the San Fernando Valley. And then what will remain is the central city.
2 minutes.
You and Carol Schatz, that cunt.
Mr. Spindler. Ms. Gonzalez, good afternoon, ma'am.
Ave Maria Purísima. Anyways, Yolanda Gonzalez from Venice in Boyle Heights. I've come here because we really need to delegate a lot of issues that we are going through. We have alleys, and as a matter of fact, where I live with Sabakini in Venice, I am 6 feet underwater that's coming in from the ocean. And some of our alleys really need repair urgently. I put in a request almost 4 months ago to come and fill in a hole that's behind my house. And if it keeps raining, I'm going to have a sinkhole like you have no idea, and we don't know what's coming down on that. Second of all, another thing that I would like to bring up is that the trash cans. We have an ordinance in which people need to put their trash cans away. That will deter the homeless coming in to our alleys and going into our trash cans. Why is it that the city of Pasadena, which I own a home over there, if you leave your trash can over there out in an hour after the trash can people come, they come and find you the next day. We have that ordinance in place. But people leave their trash cans and it looks terrible. We have 10 million tourists coming to Venice right now. 10 million tourists. And you know what? It's shameful that Venice looks the way it does. We need to delegate these issues because we are putting our part. Your Royal Highness goes out and cleans the street, sweeps, even though I have help. But we need you to come out and come talk to us. I've learned to delegate issues, and congratulations, Mr. James, for being the new president also. You know you've always been a support for us, and we are support for you and everyone else. But anyways, we need for you to come and delegate because we have a new board. They're intelligent, they're young.
2 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. We look forward to seeing you in Venice. Thank you. On special one, we've gone through the agenda on a regular meeting, correct, sir?
That is correct. For the special agenda for roll call, Commissioner Davis, James, and assent to our president, we do have speaker cards on general public comment, no commentary for the neighborhood council, and then also for the record, a public comment card came in through email, and that was distributed to your commission this morning.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Special 1, CD4, Bureau of Engineering recommending the board authorize the execution of a revised construction order in connection with 1680 Sunset Plaza Drive emergency bulkhead project to Keywood Infrastructure West Company for an additional $114,000 and authorize a construction budget for an amount not to exceed $613,000. Funding for the project comes from Fund Number 682, Department 50 Appropriation Unit 50M VBS. Mr. Spindler on number 1, Special 1.
That's right. See, jackass rodeo, back up to 2 minutes from 11 seconds. How does that happen? Because people have minds of their own. Now, CD4, the only good councilman, David Rue, and he became the first Korean American to ever sit on the council, even though the racist Herb Wesson, God love him, didn't want that Asian on that council till 2025. But David Rue came around. And before the election, the LA Times wrote that story about his arrest. David Rue was arrested one time. So David Rue, like me, has been fucked with by LAPD. So in his heart, he hates them like I do because he's been fucked with too. So he understands us. Now, what is this? Another $114,000. So I'm going to defer to the office of David Rue. I hope somebody's here. I hope a staffer is here from David Rue. But if he's not, we're upstairs on the 4th floor. He'll hear me because he comes down here whenever he hears me, and I ask for his name, the Batman of the city. David Rue, are you here? And do you want this project to have $114,000 more, or is it a scam? So if David Rue says it's good, I'm going to stick with David Rue. I don't stick with Garcetti. I don't stick with Heather Repenning. You stay with David Rue because we got one good councilman and 14 cretins. There are 14 cretins, but we got one good councilman, 14 more to go, and one day we may come to this place holding our heads high.
2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Spindler. Richard Louis. Hi, Richard.
Good morning.
We're in afternoon now.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Richard Louis with the Bureau of Engineering Geotechnical Engineering Group, and I am here for the 1680 Sunset Plaza Emergency Bulkhead Project. This board motion is recommending...
Oh, I'm sorry, did we hear from Mr. Herman on this item?
We have not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I believe he did
I'm
submit
sorry,
a
Mr.
speaker
Louis.
card.
Mr. Herman has a card on this item. We closed neighborhood council and public comment on this item, but Mr. Herman has a card on this item.
That is correct.
Yes, go ahead, sir. Sorry about that.
No problems. No problems. You heard the good speaker from Venice, Ms. Gonzalez, and she brought to your attention some of the concerns because she's on that body of neighborhood councils. And I'm here in her support that such related issues on agenda items go on deaf ears. That's why we have brought to her attention regarding Mr. Rue in CD4. Mr. Rue is a very competent, intelligent councilman who comes up with very suggestive ideas. And such ideas call to order in connection to protecting the rights of the public, such as Mr. Wayne Spindler has done as his advocacy has precedence of a great honor in this chamber, along with that of the other elected officials in the so-called House of Whore. Because you know that when Rue was elected, as brought out, he was the first Asian American, in which I gave him all support and I voted on, just like those of us who voted for him. So let's not throw Mr. Rue under the bus when it comes to issues and protections of his constituents. But rather, let's have, in the future, a representative of Mr. Rue here on this topic, knowing that there's an item being spoken about regarding the recommendation of this board, so that his staff can make recommendations or clarify one of our concerns or grammatically make a change to the order as Mr. Wayne Spindler has done in the past. Because we call to order on things that are good, okay, but when we see something impacting and adversing our community, we rely on Mr. Rue. So for the record, a shout out to you, Mr. Rue.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Mr. Louis, please. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. Once again, Richard Louis from the Bureau of Engineering Geotechnical Engineering Group. And I'm here for the 1680 Sunset Boulevard Emergency Bulkhead Project. This board motion is recommending to approve an additional $114,000 for this project and to authorize the execution of a revised construction order. Let me start with a little bit of background. Sometime before March 4th, 2016, a contractor operating on the private property of 1680 Sunset Plaza Drive removed a significant portion of the support of the city street without authorization, leaving this street unsupported and thereby a threat to public safety. This hazardous condition must be repaired immediately for the street to be made safe again and open to the public. On April 22nd, 2016, the City Council declared the repair of the street an emergency and authorized a construction budget of $613,000. On April 26, 2016, after briefing the liaison BOE commissioner, the first interested contractor on the rotating emergency geotechnical structural construction services list was issued a notice to proceed to install an approximately 30-foot long, 18-foot high bulkhead on a time and materials basis for an amount not to exceed $499,000. This allowed work to proceed while we negotiated a lump sum for the project. This motion is brought to you today because it's projected that the cost incurred to date for this project has reached the not-to-exceed limit of $499,000. In order to keep the project moving forward, we are recommending your authorization to execute the revised construction order in the amount of $613,000, which is the funds that were appropriated by City Council on April 22nd. Lastly, a tentative lump sum agreement of $810,000 has been negotiated with the contractor. A future motion will be submitted to this board to revise the construction order in the amount of $810,000 after additional funds are secured for the project. Thank you.
So I was there yesterday morning, actually, and saw the work that's being done there. And I know that this has been just a real pain for the neighbors and the actions that the contractor had taken. And frankly, I think it was a public works inspector that stumbled upon it. I think it was essentially a public works, months ago, it was a public works inspector that stumbled upon it and found the illegal work that was done. I know that the community and the council office are very interested in the city doing everything that we can with our enforcement and legal authority to obtain reimbursement from the contractor on the item. But it's something that's got to get done.
Yes, sir.
And I do appreciate the work of the Bureau, the council office, the council in working with us on the emergency funding for this. Commissioner Jacinto?
President, thank you. Richard, thank you for the report. Just want to state that it is a positive that we are going to recoup the cost for the reconstruction of the bulkhead from the contractor from whatever settlement, correct?
I believe that the Bureau of Contract Administration is taking lead on that issue. So I will defer to them, but I believe that's the case, yes.
Okay, because we've received inquiries from the general public regarding who will pay for the work that's being done as a result of maybe non-sanctioned work. So it's important that we do not absorb that as a city, but we pursue every opportunity to have those responsible take care of that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anything further? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda special 1, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt special 1. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Thank you for your patience today, Richard.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Campos, are we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Okay, then we are adjourned.